So you've probably dreamed of getting a top-tier degree right in the heart of Europe, right? But then, bam, the reality of the cost just hits you. It's a classic story. But what if there was a golden ticket? A fully funded scholarship that covers literally everything, turning that dream into a concrete plan. Today, that's what we're doing. We're unlocking one of Europe's most amazing awards, the Stipendium Hungaricum Scholarship.
All right, so here's the game plan. We're going to walk through everything you need to know in 6 clear steps. First, what makes this such a life-changing opportunity? Then, we'll simplify that tricky dual application process. We'll go through your must-have document checklist. Then, the big one, how to craft a motivation letter that actually gets noticed. After that, we'll navigate the selection stages. And finally, we'll share the real secrets to success. Think of this as your complete roadmap.
Okay, first things first. Why are people calling this a golden ticket? What is the big deal? Let's really break down what makes this scholarship one of the most sought-after opportunities for students all over the world.
I mean, this is the question for so many of us, isn't it? You've got the ambition, you've got the grades, but that financial wall to studying abroad, it just feels impossible to climb sometimes. Well, this scholarship, it's designed to completely tear down that wall.
And just look at this. This is how comprehensive it is. We're not talking about a partial scholarship here. Your tuition fees, 100% covered. You get a monthly stipend to live on. Your housing is sorted, either in a free dorm or with an allowance. You get health insurance. They even reimburse your air ticket to get to Hungary. And, kind of the cherry on top, you get a Schengen visa, which means you have visa-free access to over 27 countries in Europe. It's the whole shebang.
And to make this super concrete, let's talk numbers. If you're a bachelor's or master's student, you're getting a monthly stipend of 43,700 Hungarian forint. Now, if a free spot in a dorm isn't available, you get another 40,000 forint on top of that to help with your housing. The whole point of this support is so you can focus on what you're there to do, study, and have an amazing experience.
Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. This next part is absolutely critical, and to be honest, it's where a lot of people get confused and trip up. But don't you worry, we are going to make this two-portal system crystal clear. So the single most important thing to remember is this. You have to apply in 2 different places. It's not one application, it's 2. First, you apply to the main scholarship portal in Hungary, which is run by the Tempest Public Foundation, or TPF. Then, and this is the step people sometimes miss, you also have to apply through your home country's official authority. They call this the sending partner. So for example, if you're in Pakistan, that's the Higher Education Commission, the HEC. If you're in Bangladesh, it's the Ministry of Education. You have to do both. No exceptions.
So who does what? This really clears it up. The TPF in Hungary, they manage the whole system from their end, and they make the final decision on who gets the scholarship. But and this is key. It's your sending partner back home that does the first round of filtering. They're the ones who shortlist people and then nominate them to Hungary. And that means they often have their own extra rules, like specific tests or interviews that you absolutely have to know about.
And just so you can plan your life, here's what the timeline usually looks like. Applications open up around mid-November and they slam shut in mid-January. If you get nominated by your sending partner, you'll probably hear about it by March. The final results from Hungary itself come out around May or June, which gives you just enough time to get everything sorted before you head out in August.
Okay, so you get the process now, but what do you actually need to submit? Let's turn what can feel like a really overwhelming task into a simple, straightforward checklist. This is your essential application toolkit.
All right, here are the absolute must-haves. You're going to need a valid passport, all your attested academic records, and proof you can speak English, like an IELTS score. You'll also need a CV, and hey, don't just list jobs, make sure you highlight your extracurriculars. Then there's your motivation letter, which we'll talk a lot more about in a second, a very specific medical certificate from a form you have to download, and a police clearance certificate. Seriously, start getting these together early. And hey, remember what we said about the sending partners having their own rules? Well, here is a perfect example. If you're applying from Pakistan, the HEC requires you to have a valid HAT or USAT test score. This isn't a rule from Hungary, it's a specific rule from your local nominating body. This is exactly why you have to go to your sending partner's website and read everything. It's one of the most important things you can do.
And now, we've arrived at what so many successful scholars say is the single most important part of the entire application. We're talking about the motivation letter. This isn't just a document, it's your story. This is your chance to go from just being another number in a pile to being a real person they want to meet.
I just love this quote from one of our sources because it perfectly nails the mindset you need.
Look, anyone can write a letter listing their grades and achievements. That's easy. But can you create something that an admissions officer will actually remember long after they've put it down? That's the goal. You have to aim for the art.
And just look at the difference here. On the left, you've got the openings that thousands and thousands of people use. Yeah, they're technically correct, but they are so boring. On the right, those are hooks. You're diving right into a story, a passion, a unique point of view. Now, which one do you think is going to grab the reader and make them actually want to read more? It's a no-brainer.
So, how do you do it? First off, be authentic. Be a little raw, even. Don't write what you think they want to hear. Write what's true for you. Second, build a narrative. Connect the dots for them between your past, your present, and the future you want to build in Hungary. Be contextual. Why this program? Why Hungary? And please, avoid templates. Your story is unique, so your letter should be too. Don't just tell them you're passionate. Show them, with a real example, a personal story. That's your superpower here. Use it. Okay, deep breath. You've gathered all your documents, you've written an absolute masterpiece of a motivation letter, and you've hit submit on both portals. So, what happens next? Let's pull back the curtain on that journey from submission to getting that acceptance letter. It basically happens in 3 big stages. Stage 1 is nomination. Your sending partner sifts through all the local applications and sends their hand-picked list over to Hungary. If you make that list, congrats! You move to Stage 2, university entrance. This is where your chosen universities will contact you directly for their own admission stuff. It could be an online exam, an interview, maybe both. And if you pass that, you get to the final stage where the Tempest Public Foundation in Hungary makes the final call and sends out the official scholarship award. And let's just be real for a second. The competition is fierce. For a country like Bangladesh, for example, there are only about 140 seats available, and that's across all levels: bachelor's, master's, PhD. Thousands and thousands of people apply for those spots. Now, I'm not saying that to discourage you, I'm saying it to focus you. Every single piece of your application, especially that story you tell, has to be designed to stand out from that massive crowd. And that brings us to our final and, maybe our most important section. Because beyond all the paperwork and the deadlines, there's a certain mindset, a specific approach that really separates the people who get in from those who don't. So let's talk about these secrets to success. You can really see the difference in approach here. The person making common mistakes, well, they go to those generic study abroad fairs, they kind of wait around and worry, they use a template for their letter, and they think their good grades are enough. But the winning applicant? They're proactive. They do deep, specific research on universities. They start gathering documents months ahead of time. And they know that their unique, authentic story and their life experiences are just as powerful as their GPA.
When you really boil it all down, the winning mindset comes down to these 4 things. Proactivity. Don't wait. Act now. Perseverance. Know that it's tough, but believe in your shot. Authenticity. Just be you, because that's something no one else can be. And finally, storytelling. You're not just filling out a form, you're telling the compelling story of you.
Let's just end on that thought. Your grades, your test scores, those are just data points. Your application is the narrative that ties them all together. It's the story of where you've been, who you are right now, and where you're trying to go. And it is a story that only you can write. So what story are you going to tell?